Hey guys, this is Joe Harper with Reformed Truther Ministries. In today's video, we're going to be talking about CERN, the scientific installation in Switzerland, and we're going to be talking about Hadron Colliders, antimatter, D-wave quantum computers, and at the end, I'm going to even comment on the Mandela Effect. So, in today's video, we're talking about a topic that's more scientific in nature, more talking about technology and its effect it's having upon the world. But this is a video that has extreme spiritual ramifications because, as we're going to be talking about, many truthers believe that the experiments and the research that is being conducted at CERN may be opening portals between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, and giving demons greater access to our reality. And that may sound crazy to people who haven't looked into it, but we're living in a day where the differences between scientific capabilities and what would historically be confined to the realm of magic or the supernatural, those lines get blurred day by day, year by year, decade by decade, century by century, as humanity's abilities in learning and technology and progress continues to increase by the day. The scriptures say that in the last days, knowledge will increase. We see that in Daniel chapter 12, and that is exactly what is going on. So for those of you who do not know, CERN is an acronym that comes from the title of the organization, the European Council for Nuclear Research, or sometimes called the European Organization for Nuclear Research. And when you look at the French translation of that name, it comes out to the acronym CERN. And CERN is a scientific installation located on the Franco-Swiss border between France and Switzerland, close to Geneva. And this scientific installation is famous for hosting the world's largest Hadron Collider. And a Hadron Collider is a particle accelerator, and it is shaped as a ring. It is 17 miles long. And this is an installation where they accelerate particles close to the speed of light and slam them together, protons and neutrons, so that they can, by slamming these particles together, they give the explanation of wanting to see how those collisions affect what we observe. It's scientific research, and they give the reason of wanting to do this for the purpose of understanding the Big Bang. Evolutionists, they believe that the Big Bang was caused from all of the matter in the universe being confined to a space so small that it was imperceptible to the naked eye, and then something, according to them, that they do not know caused it to explode out like a Big Bang. This is the alleged beginning to what we call the universe. And they believe by using this particle accelerator that they will be able to discover the origins of our universe and gain greater scientific understanding of the world. Now, at this point, some people may be questioning, what is the big deal with CERN? Is there really any reason to question its purpose in the world, to look at it more behind the scenes? But as we're going to see, there is a lot more to CERN than meets the eye. We can see that the technological and scientific research they're conducting is very scary and dubious when you really look behind the scenes and you find out that the ramifications of what they're doing is highly, highly concerning. And this is only aggravated by the fact that when you really look into it, that CERN is, even though it appears to be a mainstream scientific institution, and in many ways that is exactly what it is, it does have a number of globalist and occult connections and implications. And CERN is an institution that has official UN observer status. It is an officially recognized institution by the United Nations, and by having observer status, it is recognized as an integral part of the world system. So this in and of itself shows its connections to the world's governments, to the globalists, to the world elites, and that in of itself says a great deal. But there is further implications that can show that there is a more malign purpose to the work being done at CERN, and many truthers, many researchers, many very credible researchers have done a lot of research into this, and they've pointed to things such as, even looking at the logo of CERN, you see that there are these 3 rings with lines coming out from it, and it appears to be 3 sixes, 666. And I often try to overly analyze logos and pictures, for even though there is often occult symbolism in there, it can at times seem to be, even if it is true, it can come off as shallow research or overly speculative. But I think at the very least there is something to be said. But the image from CERN that really says much more than even the logo would be the fact that in the courtyard of the facility at CERN there is a statue of the Hindu goddess Shiva, and this comes from the Hindu trinity of the gods: Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; and Shiva, the destroyer. And when you see this statue of Shiva dancing, that is the cosmic dance of destruction. When you get into Hindu lore and mythology, you see that Shiva is the destroyer, and that it is the purpose of that deity is to bring about the destruction of the world. Now, this statue was gifted to CERN from scientists from India, so someone could say it's simply a gift of cultural significance. But I would say at the very least, even if the scientists there with a secular worldview are completely ignorant to what that goddess represents, it does not change the fact that idols do have power behind them. We find this very clearly in the scriptures, and evoking such a demonic entity in that way, putting it front and center in front of your facility, at the very least implies a great deal of spiritual ignorance, and that there can still be demonic and spiritual power attracted because of that statue being placed in that place. The scriptures are very clear what to do with idols, which is to destroy them, to burn them. In ancient Israel, even when idols were made of silver and gold, those things were supposed to be melted down, and they weren't even supposed to be kept for the silver and gold that may be contained in them. And the Lord was making it very clear there's things that are dangerous there, and that those things need to be completely destroyed, and you don't want to have any reason to try to cling onto those things in a way that you ought not to. But I think it's even fair to say in regards to this statue that I think it goes further than ignorance. On face level, you may say it's just a gift from scientists in India, but I think many of the people at CERN know exactly what that represents, and they know exactly the implications of having that statue there, and that's the occult world saying to the mainstream world, these are the entities that we are serving in regards to our work at CERN. And then the other thing that is fascinating but also disturbing about CERN is what is going on with their particle accelerator when they're slamming those protons together, and it's causing these explosions on the quantum level. Many scientists have speculated that these collisions are causing, what they hope to happen is that it will cause ruptures in the 4-dimensional space that we live in, of space and time, and they're hoping that this will create what has been referred to as stargates, which is something that has been talked a lot about in science fiction. But they're hoping to open doors between our reality and other dimensions. Now, this would seem to be completely speculative, completely theoretical, even conspiratorial, if it wasn't for the fact that the scientists themselves there at CERN have speculated this and talked about this and hoped for this to happen. And they have said that this is something that they wish to be a part of the goals of their work. And one simply has to go on the internet and research that in detail, and they find out that that is in fact the case. So this is where the truther community has faced so much. They've spent so much time pondering this, thinking about this, researching this, and then facing pushback for this. But they are saying that the purpose of trying to open up doors to other dimensions is something that the Lord would have us not to do. We are trying to escape the confines of which the Lord has placed us in. And this is very dangerous. And the question has been asked by many truthers, what are they trying to do with those doors potentially being opened? And some of the questions have been, how are they trying to open doors into Sheol, into hell, and perhaps even release the fallen angels that were imprisoned there from before the foundation of the world, going back to the narrative of the pre-flood world and the Nephilim and the giants and the angels which mated with human women, and they were punished by the Lord as a result of the judgment that came with the great flood of Noah. And then others have speculated, are they trying to open a doorway into heaven so that the fallen angels can invade the heavenly realms that are owned by the Lord as part of this satanic plot to dethrone God? Or just simply, it can be as simple as trying to open these doors to allow demonic entities greater access to our world. And I think this is certainly a part of what they're doing. And this is what makes what they're doing so dangerous and nefarious. And another aspect of their technological research that they are doing is that they are creating what has been called antimatter. And antimatter is described as matter composed of antiparticles. And that of itself may seem like just a fun fact of scientific knowledge, but one of the things that is very interesting about antimatter is that it is said to be highly explosive. It's said that 1 gram of antimatter has enough explosive power to potentially destroy a city, which would put it on par with what the world talks about when they talk about atomic weapons. But a few grams of antimatter could wipe out in buildings and armies and whatever. And many scientists have speculated that if antimatter is ever produced en masse, that it would create an entirely new arms race, and that it would be a weapon that would change the world. Even Stephen Hawking, a mainstream historian, has warned about the dangerous effects of playing with antimatter, and he's even urged caution in regards to the work of experimentation done with these Hadron Colliders. But another fact about antimatter that has more spiritual significance is the fact that researchers have shown that people who have been exposed to antimatter have had very strange things happen to them, strange phenomenon, such as some people who have been around it have had nightmares, or they've experienced visions, or what we would ascribe to mental delusion. It is literally driving people to the verge of insanity, and I believe a reason for that is because we are playing with things which the Lord does not intend for us to happen. So there's been spiritual phenomenon that has been experienced by people who have been in close proximity to antimatter, and there's even been certain unnamed universities that have housed antimatter at the request of C.E.R.N, and parts of their faculty and student bodies have experienced this to be the case. So there's a lot more to antimatter than we would initially hear about. There's a lot more to these Hadron Colliders that we hear about, and we see that there's immense spiritual applications to these things that these scientists are playing with and researching and studying and experimenting with. And these are things that Christians should take note of. And this brings me next to the D-Wave quantum computers. Now, D-Wave quantum computers are quantum computers that are produced by a company known as D-Wave Systems. And as the name suggests, D-Wave quantum computers harness the laws of quantum mechanics in order to process information that is far faster than your conventional computers. As a matter of fact, D-Wave quantum computers are able to process information at an indescribably faster scale or rate than even the world's greatest conventional supercomputers. And according to the words of IBM, these D-Wave quantum computers, quote, create multi-dimensional computational spaces, and they use what are called quantum algorithms in order to process information at the rate that they do. These make these computers more powerful than conventional computers on a scale that is really beyond our ability to even comprehend on some level. D-Wave quantum computers are quite literally, in layman's terms, operating at the quantum level and are opening dimensional portals in order to process the information that they do. And this allows them to solve
complex problems far beyond the abilities of the computers that predate them. So we see that this is something that is incredible in one sense, but it also is disturbing in the sense that because these computers are on a quantum level opening dimensional portals, this leads to a potential detrimental side effect to our own reality. And this is what researchers such as Anthony Patch has called quantum pollution, that this is because these computers are operating in this way, they are leading to changes within our reality, that this is having a detrimental effect, on our own reality on the conventional scale, even in a way that we're able to see with our own eyes. So this quantum pollution is often attributed to what has been called the Mandela Effect.
So this brings me finally to the question of the Mandela Effect. So for those of you who do not know, the Mandela Effect is an alleged phenomenon that is often talked about in regards to C.E.R.N. and its Hadron Colliders and quantum D-wave quantum computers. And the Mandela Effect is essentially a supernatural phenomenon where aspects of our reality are changed, and then people noticing the change notice that these things are different than what they were before or what they remember them as. So the mainstream explanation of this phenomenon is that people are simply misremembering what they experienced in the past, and that due to their faulty memory, due to their misremembering what actually happened, mainstream society is saying that that is the explanation for the Mandela Effect, while those in the truther community are in contrast saying that no, the Mandela Effect is a real phenomenon that is causing real changes to our reality, and that this is being caused by C.E.R.N, the Hadron Colliders, and especially these quantum D-wave, the D-wave quantum computers. So as I've looked into this, as I've studied this, the Mandela Effect is as it were, an extremely large can of worms to get into. It's a deep rabbit hole. But after studying it, even though I cannot say specifically what is, in every instance, what is truly a change caused by the Mandela Effect, what is not a change caused by the Mandela Effect, I can at this point certainly say that it is in fact a real phenomenon. That brings about many questions for many people about what is this, what's causing this, what qualifies as a quantum effect, what does not qualify as a quantum effect or a Mandela effect. But I would say that if you want to look into this more, one person who's done a lot of research on the D-wave quantum computers and the Mandela Effect would be Anthony Patch. And he's very, very articulate in how he speaks. He knows a lot about the topic. He goes into a lot of depth. And he is somebody who can speak specifically to the effects of these computers and how they're operating on the quantum level. And he believes that a lot of this is being caused by what he calls quantum pollution. And I think that a very viable understanding for this is because of what C.E.R.N's doing with their Hadron Colliders and with their D-wave quantum computers operating on the quantum level, that they are essentially opening doorways between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And what's that doing is that it is allowing more and more demons, fallen angels, demons, demonic powers to enter into our reality, which is giving the devil and his angelic servants more power over our reality, which is leading to what the Bible would call deceiving signs and wonders. That these are demonically powered miracles, they're supernatural, and they're being caused because these scientific endeavors are allowing more demonic access into the realm of our reality, of our world. And I think that is a really viable understanding for understanding what is going on with the Mandela Effect. Now, like I said, a lot more could be said upon that. I'm not going to comment specifically on what is and what's not a Mandela Effect at this point. That can be a video for another day. But talking about C.E.R.N, it would be remiss to not at least mention it and mention how it is indeed something that is often referred to when talking about C.E.R.N by truthers, so some comments needed to be made on it. Now, with all that being said, guys, I always say with every topic we do, this is a subject worth looking into. What C.E.R.N is doing with its Hadron Colliders, with its D-Wave quantum computers is important. It's something that, even though some of us may not look at it on a day-to-day basis, we may not hear about C.E.R.N in the news, it is something that's very important. It's something that's having a much larger impact on our reality than we may realize, and it's something that makes this important for us to understand as part of having discernment of the times that we live in, the signs of the times, Matthew 16, and that we want to understand these things so that we can properly serve the Lord and know what He would have for us to do. So all of that being said, guys, look into this, study this, pray about this, and I hope the Lord will use that to bless you in your walks with Him. That being said, this is Joe Harper with Reformed Truther Ministries. God bless.